I am so disappointed to come to the realization that we have elected someone who is far from being intelligent and who would love to see the end of democracy.
I am not abandoning my party, but I am abandoning the Trump presidency.
He's a racist.
Racist and inflammatory comments.
This sexual predator.
He's had over 25 different women make allegations of sexual misconduct against him.
He's a con man and he's a criminal. My family company was one of the many companies that helped build the Taj Mahal in Atlantic City. Trump did not pay my family's company $8 million.
He's opened up a dialogue of hate that has given the permission to people to treat each other in ways that aren't good.
This divisiveness. We've elected someone who actively fans the flames of divisiveness and tribalism and us versus them.
Trafficked in a toxic blend of nationalism, populism, and xenophobia that doesn't represent traditional conservatism.
Minorities and immigration, ever since he took office, he's only doubled down on those things and made them worse.
We are separating people in need and putting kids in cages.
He shut down the government because of the border wall.
First thing he did with the Muslim ban. I mean, that was thinly disguised as a travel ban, but it was a fundamentally racist policy to ban Muslims from the United States.
National debt. President Trump has run up the highest deficits in history, and that was true even before the pandemic took place.
He raised tariffs, which is basically taxes on Americans, and he lied that China paid for them.
His tariffs destroyed my small business.
Taxes, longest tax audit in U.S. history, probably.
He promised in 2016 to release them. After 4 years, I'm still waiting.
His claim to being such a great businessman, that just wasn't the case. All his bankruptcies, all his failed businesses, how he stiffed contractors.
He's alienated our closest allies.
He engaged in foolish trade wars, and we are paying the consequences.
Foreign policy. He had no plan for domestic policy. He had no plan for foreign policy.
Not holding Saudi Arabia accountable for the torture and dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi because there were billions of dollars of trade involved.
It's especially perplexing to hear a commander-in-chief say he does not like or support a U.S. prisoner of war.
He knew that Russia was paying bounties on our troops being killed in Afghanistan, and he did nothing. And he's still done nothing.
President Trump seems to praise dictators and even places trust in them. He said he loves Kim Jong-un of North Korea.
He says, I believe our adversary, President Putin of Russia, over my own United States intelligence agency that have determined the Russians interfered with our election.
Asking to get Russia's help on Hillary's emails.
When faced with a crisis, he's completely unprepared and unable to formulate a sound response.
His position on climate change, and I think it's just terrible. I'm really afraid for the planet that we're going to leave my grandkids.
I hate his lack of belief in science and medicine, climate change.
The pandemic, when he just didn't take action, and the way that he portrayed the problem as nothing significant and downplayed it.
When we came across the current coronavirus, he didn't extend the benefits, which didn't make any sense to me.
Defunded our pandemic response during the coronavirus crisis.
Primary contributor to the deaths of over 100,000 of our fellow Americans.
We're probably going to go to 200,000 because now President Trump is just ignoring the problem.
He refused to model wearing a mask.
He discourages face masks. He makes them a political statement.
The president is taking hydroxychloroquine, which is not approved by the CDC.
This dangerous suggestion that people drink disinfectant.
And now he tweets in all caps that schools are to reopen.
Why go to a U.S. institution, A, if the U.S. isn't even safe, they can't even keep COVID under control, and B, if the United States is kind of a failed society. That is how we are viewed.
We're leaving and cutting funding for the World Health Organization.
Has he done anything for healthcare? No. He's been in the office for 3.5 years, nothing for healthcare.
He's tearing down every institution that our forefathers built, and for what?
And I'm not sure if you have noticed, but he's destroying our witness and credibility all across the land.
And the incidents, especially with George Floyd, and how he has handled the situation is quite frankly disgraceful.
Recently, how he has tear-gassed peaceful protesters.
This is a guy who puts videos out there of people chanting white coward.
And then immediately when riot starts, he goes to a 1960s law enforcement for his inspiration to come out with when the looting starts, the shooting starts.
We just keep on ignoring a president who acts bad, has no morals at all.
A lot of the things that he said about free trade that I simply couldn't agree with.
He constantly allows his ego to fuel his decision making.
He destroyed any dignity that the White House holds, and he's consistently curb-stomped democracy.
Rule of law. He doesn't espouse values of the rule of law.
We're looking at a lying draft dodger.
And he is known as the loser and the coward he is.
A man who worships money over everything else.
I'm dismayed with his hourly, childish, incessant Twitter posts.
He is an absolute narcissist, and it's all about him winning.
We have an administration of yes men. They are scared of him. He is a bully.
Authoritarian bully with so much hate in his heart. The Republicans seem to cower in his presence.
15% national unemployment.
We've got an unemployment rate not seen since the Great Depression.
He tried to use his influence with Ukraine to get reelected and then got impeached instead.
He's also destroying the GOP. The damage he's doing to the Republican Party, it's going to be a permanent stain.
He had no knowledge of the Constitution.
How does a person apply for a job that don't have experience at that job? He has never been a politician.
Because of his selfishness and the fact he's so indifferent to the country, he has managed to divide us more than ever.
He mocks people. He mocks people who are not capable of commanding the public forum that he does.
This is a guy who mocks disabled people. Who mocks disabled people?
His default position is to blame other people, to find the fault in others rather than taking responsibility for his own failures and the failures of his administration.
We are an embarrassment. I used to be a very proud American, and right now, I'm sorry to say, I'm ashamed because of Donald Trump.
My biggest issue with Trump is the constant barrage of lies.
This compulsive, pathological need to lie about everything.
And not only does he lie, but if he says something that I know I've heard, he says he didn't say it, and so he gaslights. And I don't like to be gaslighted.
He's threatening critics in the media with censorship.
When President Trump, for example, tries to use an executive order to change the law regulating social media companies, well, I'm against that too.
Undermining the free press. They aren't fake news. They get it right most of the time, and unfortunately gives them so many opportunities.
I don't know if you've heard about the case of Katie Johnson, where she sued him and Jeffrey Epstein back in 2016.
Donald Trump has always been homophobe, hatefully condemned monogamous same-sex marriages.
He used federal police and military personnel to break up peaceful protesters in front of St. John's Episcopal Church so he could hold a Bible in front of the church and proclaim himself the law and order president.
He has done more harm to religion than to protect it. He uses faith as a prop. And as a person of faith, I am deeply offended by this.
He almost started war with Iran. We were this close to getting a World War III.
We have been banned, from all but 20 countries in the world. No one wants us. America has gone from a guiding light of the world to the embarrassment of the world.
Settling a $25 million lawsuit operating a blatant university scam.
His whole family, they're nothing but a bunch of grifters, con criminals. It's a Trump organized crime family.
A president who willingly breaks the rules, breaks the law.
He's also a misogynist. I don't know if you've heard any of his misogynistic comments that he's making all the time.
I've also believed that he is mentally unfit.
The other things that struck me as obvious violations of his power was when he fired the Ukraine ambassador when he was being tried for impeachment, and he just fired her for no reason.
Making things worse is his lack of empathy.
There is a list of 14 identifiers of fascism, and Trump checks off every single box.
This man is not a conservative. He's not a Republican. He's only in this for himself.
He's not a leader. Leaders use authority by their integrity, their character. He tries to use power of his bully pulpit, of his Twitter account, to bully people into supporting him.
Apparent opposition to democracy. He wanted to win the election, but he wanted to win once. He looked and sounded like a wannabe dictator.
He's disputing the results of an election 3 months before they happen. He's tried to postpone the elections. You want to live in a country where politicians can just come in and challenge and delay elections like in tin pot dictatorships around the world?
He has enough time to watch TV, tweet, and play golf, but somehow not enough time to read intelligence reports.
He called actual Nazis very fine people, and as a proud Jew, that does not sit well with me.
I thought Donald would run this country like a business. He would look out for working class Americans like myself. I couldn't be more disappointed in his performance.
He thinks he's a king. He thinks his family's the royal family.
I've seen in Donald Trump impulsiveness, vindictiveness, childishness, nepotistic, sort of corrupt behaviors on many, many levels.
The corruption and the mishandling of power in our judicial system, in our legislative system, in our executive branches, because he has taken advantage of every concept of that.
He does not listen to advisors. He hires or appoints yes men.
He has betrayed every principle of the conservative movement that I believe in and many conservatives believe in.
I can no longer defend the indefensible, and I'm sick of trying.
I mean, everybody was supporting him because of the economy, and they think this economy is going to snap right back. This economy's damaged for quite some time. It's not going to snap right back, and that's why we need to put Biden in office.
The Republican Party has completely sold out to Trumpism, and I can't support that.
I want to beg you to help us defeat the Trump personality cult that has taken over the GOP. The Republican Party I knew and loved was an honorable party.